What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the VHS Files podcast. Today, we're talking about David Cronenberg's The Fly. This film stars Jeff Goldblum, Gina Davis, and John Getz. The Fly was released on August 15th, 1986. It was directed by David Cronenberg, who has brought us such films as Shivers, Rabid, The Brood, Scanners, Videodrome, The Dead Zone, and after The Fly would bring us Dead Ringers, Naked Lunch, A History of Violence, Eastern Promises, and his latest film, Maps to the Stars. David Cronenberg is prolific in the horror community for bringing us the genre of body horror. With a modest budget of between $9 and $15 million, it brought in a box office of $60.6 million and brought David Cronenberg into the mainstream as a director. It was released amongst the likes of One Crazy Summer, Manhunter, Night of the Creeps, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, and Stand By Me. As always, this episode will contain heavy plot spoilers, harsh language, and adult content. We had a blast talking about David Cronenberg's The Fly this week, so hope you enjoy. Please, if you like the video, make sure you smash that like button and hit subscribe so that way you know when we put out new episodes. And now, on with the show. All right, so this week we watched David Cronenberg's The Fly. Finally got some David Cronenberg up in this bitch. How's everybody feel about that?
Very excited. Been waiting for some Cronenberg.
Yeah, I made sure to not eat before watching the movie because if you're smart and you know anything about Cronenberg, yeah, you don't go into a Cronenberg movie after eating, like...
Wait, Jason, I've got a magic word for you.
What?
Cheeseburger.
Cheese. Now I want a cheeseburger. I'm going to Whataburger. Fuck this. I'm out, guys. Bye.
So tell me a little bit about you guys' background with The Fly. I know I watched this one as a kid. I know this fucking movie scarred me as a kid. How about you guys?
I did not see this one as a kid. I saw it as a grown-up.
Was that like 2 years ago?
No. I would say maybe it was a while ago. But initially, and then I've watched it again a few times since. Love Goldblum. This is quintessential Goldblum.
I think this movie was my introduction to Jeff Goldblum, to be completely honest.
Primo Goldblum, and I love that guy. So I've always loved this movie, largely for him, and then of course all the good Cronenbergian yuckiness and body horror and flesh and whatnot.
Yeah.
Jason, how about you?
Yeah, Fly was my first introduction to Cronenberg's work. Later I found out it's all tied together in a way. It's disgusting body horror. And then later Videodrome and all those things. And you're like, this guy's fucked up and I like it. This is great. But The Fly was definitely something I watched as I was younger. My mom was in love with Jeff Goldblum, like most women at that time. This is kind of where they fell in love with him before the teleportation sequence. This is something we watched quite a bit. I think this used to come on like HBO a lot.
That's one of my biggest memories of this movie is HBO used to play promos for it all the time. I think at the time I hadn't seen the movie, but I was curious as to what it was because I kept seeing these promos. But the bad part about the promos for HBO is every time I would see it, it always showed the shot of the final form of Brundle getting into the telepod. So you got to see what the creature looked like in the preview for the movie. And I guess at that point it's like, well, it's on cable. If you haven't seen it, well, then you're a dumbass. But I was like, whoa, like that was enough to captivate me. I was like, holy shit, what is that thing? And I got to see it. Like it was just, that blew me away. And then watching this movie, oh my God, dude, like I'd never seen anything like this before.
Yeah, it's the first introduction to your like, do flies really eat like that? So when you watch this movie and the next time a fly lands on your hand, you're like, is my hand going to dissolve?
Yeah, I think that's a revelation for anyone when they learn that when flies eat and land, they like barf up and regurgitate. And
there's definitely things in this movie that will leave an impression on you at a first time watch. If you've never seen it, if you've never experienced gore in the way that this one is, like this isn't, super bloody guts, blood, all that stuff. This is like Jason said, this is the definition of a body horror movie. Like it's just, you're changing, you're metamorphosizing, you're becoming something that you never were before. And I'm curious, have either one of you seen the original
No, I have it, and I pulled it because I was going to try to watch it before this recording, but I did not get around to it. So
I've only seen bits and pieces of it's the one with Vincent Price, right?
It's got Vincent Price in it. I was shocked to find out that Vincent Price wasn't the main character in the movie. He's kind of a side character. Like you're following his narration through the movie, basically. But I was also kind of shocked to find out that it's the storyline follows very closely. Like the Cronenberg movie is not super far off from the original 1958 movie.
That's interesting.
We're going to go ahead and do our Back in Time segment, and I'm going to throw it over to Eric, but he's got a little surprise for you guys tonight.
We're sending you back in time. Whoa, this is heavy.
Well, when I went to do this segment, I quickly looked up on IMDb what the year was The Fly came out, and I accidentally clicked, apparently, The Fly 2. So I did my segment for 1989. This movie came out in 1986, but we're gonna go back in time to 1989.
Fuck it, why not? Let's do it.
Why not? Give me the music one more time. Let me get in the zone here.
We're sending you back in time. Whoa, this is heavy.
Well, Josh, in 1989, the Nobel Peace Prize was awarded to the Dalai Lama. Little known fact that the Dalai Lama had a gambling addiction. Yeah, he really loves to bet. You can't throw this gold away. You can't.
Dude,
just because it's the wrong year.
That's
Okay.
right.
I like that was a good one, Eric. I like that one. That was a
Thank
good
you.
one.
Motorola launches the world's smallest mobile telephone, the MicroTac. It could fit in a shirt pocket and would set you back around $3,000. Do you guys know that most car manufacturers also make cell phones?
No.
Except for Dodge, they only make chargers.
He's on
He's
a
so
roll
good,
tonight, ladies and gentlemen.
Dude,
Ah.
2 for 2. I like it. Keep it up, Eric.
Game 3 of the 1989 World Series between Oakland and San Francisco was the first earthquake to ever be aired on live television in the United States. Do you guys know book sales skyrocket during an earthquake? Yeah,
No.
they are flying off the shelves.
Oh.
And finally, since we had the debut of the Game Boy in 1989, here's what you 1989. Here's what you might hear when you fired that baby up. Hit it, Josh.
Yeah. I feel like I'm 9 years old.
Yep, that's from, what is that from, Josh?
Super Mario Land.
Mario Land, that's right.
The
Love
best,
8-bit music, man.
dude. The best game on Game Boy still was Tetris.
I played my fair share of Tetris.
Tetris music has been featured on my segment before, so.
It has.
Yeah.
It sure has.
Tetris, or what was the one that came out? Dr. Mario. They had the pills.
Yeah.
I never played Dr. Mario.
Yeah, I didn't either. I was just a Tetris guy. I didn't want to mess around with something else.
Yeah, man.
Falling tiles.
Didn't want to mess around. I tell you what, let's mess around with some trivia.
Pop quiz, hot shot.
I know my 1989 trivia.
I know my 1986 trivia, and that's what I did, so I was on point tonight. Don't have a ton of them tonight, but I am going back to the golden raspberries for everybody. So I thought this was pretty interesting. In 1986, this action star dominated the Golden Raspberries with 2 separate nominations for Worst Picture, 2 separate nominations for Worst Actor, 1 nomination for Worst Director, and 1 nomination for Worst Screenplay. Who was it?
Stallone.
That is correct. What movies were they?
Oh, gosh.
Oh,
Cobra?
Stumpers. No,
Wasn't
Cobra
Cobra.
was actually, I think, the year before this. But Cobra did get nominated for some Razzies.
Man, I like Cobra, man. What the hell?
Over the Top.
I like
When was
Cobra
that?
too. No, I think Over the Top was after this.
It wasn't Rambo 3, was it?
It was Rambo 2
2.
and Rocky 4.
Dude, I love
Rocky
Rambo
4?
2 and Rocker 4. What the hell?
Assholes.
He actually won. He actually won the worst movie, both Rocky and Rambo. He got both awards.
Wow.
He also won Worst Director for Rocky 4. He also won Worst Actor for Rambo. No love for Stallone on the Raspberries that year.
No, they were out for him.
Jason, you had one tidbit of information about 1986. That was the most important piece of news of that time. What was it?
Well, the most important piece to me, because I'm a metal fan, and Metallica Master of Puppets was given to us.
Obey your master.
The last album with the great Cliff Burton. Rest in peace, Cliff. But
one thing, just a real quick side note. Jason and I just did an episode on Halloween Kills, and you guys can go back and listen to that one if you want to hear our thoughts. But we were talking about how awesome the CGI work was for Loomis's face, like Loomis in that movie. Was not CGI, dude. It was all makeup effects. I saw articles today. It was all makeup effects.
Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I tweeted about that. If you guys followed me on Twitter, you would know.
What's Twitter? But, what is that?
It's a social media platform.
Okay. I'm not hip to your kids.
Have you ever heard of Facebook or Instagram, Jason? Any of that stuff?
I do the Book of the Face.
He does Facebook. Because he's old.
All right. Well, since we've established that we are actually in 1986 and not 1989, we can start talking about David Cronenberg's The Fly. I love the way this fucking movie opens with that score by Howard Shore.
Oh, that's not what I was agreeing with, but yes, I like the score as well. I love how it just gets right into it. They're at a party,
bullshit,
boom,
no frills, man. It just fucking starts, dude.
It starts. No bullshit.
And you know, I even like it's kind of the Predator scene of like the heat signature of the people walking around the room, and you don't really know what you're looking at there at first, and all of a sudden, when the credits are over, it zooms out and you're looking at people at a party. Just the dialogue immediately, like,
what am I working on? I'm working on something that'll change the world and human life as we know it.
And it just shocks me how in most movies nowadays you have to get through all of this filler to get to the point of where this movie's going. You get the plot laid out pretty quickly, like within the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, and I really like Seth and how he's just so focused and so excited about what he's doing. He just can't help but.
Sorry, I have 3 other interviews to do before this party's over.
Yeah, but they're not working on something that'll change the world as we know it.
They say they are.
Yeah, but they're lying. I'm not.
But share it with her as soon as he talks to her. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think it's pretty apparent that he probably is confused, and he doesn't get out enough to realize that he is talking to a journalist. He's genuinely thinks he's just talking to someone at the party.
Yeah.
He probably thought she worked for Bartok or whoever the company. Yeah, Bartok, the company.
Yeah, it's Bartok.
But he just
Bartok.
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 How many times can we say that in this episode?
Bartok.
But
Sorry, go ahead.
He meets her there, and then because I mean, I thought that's what he was thinking that she was, but then after him carrying on, I just he doesn't know how to interact with people. And I think she's probably just the first person that he happened to walk into and just starts carrying on a conversation with her. Because you could tell kind of at the beginning, he's not, like he says, or she said, you don't get out much, do you?
Yeah.
You know, because he stays inside and everything, and which we kind of find out he's that train of thought of genius. I mean, he wears the same set of clothes every day because that's what Einstein did, so you don't lose brain power.
Hey, but
he's like Mickey Mouse or SpongeBob.
There's some truth to that, though, man, because I have a whole lot of black T-shirts, and it's easy just to be able to grab a black T-shirt and start your day. Like,
hey, speaking of T-shirts, I've got a Cronenberg T-shirt on.
He damn sure does. Cronenberg's first feature film.
I'm taking lessons from Jason and dressing appropriately for the episode.
Hey,
I got video. It matters.
I got Edgar Allan Poe.
All right,
got some Poe.
I just have a black hoodie on because I didn't have to make any choices.
But you're repping the gunship, bro, and that's all that matters.
I am. Got to represent. I think this is the role Jeff Goldblum was born to play. And I wonder if that's what people also think besides me, because, you know, he had done plenty of movies before this. I mean, he was in Invasion of the Body Snatchers and a handful of other movies before this. But because this is what I mainly know him from, like this is my first introduction to him, I just feel like knowing who he is in reality and what his mannerisms are and the way he acts, it's just like Jeff Goldblum as
it's perfect. And I'm gonna gush about Jeff Goldblum right now. His cadence, the way he talks, he's so unusual. He's just very intellectual and bizarre, and kind of his, like you say, his mannerisms, or just his eccentricities. It's perfect for a mad scientist. He's always thinking. He's always kind of in mid thought, kind of losing track of where he's going, and it's so perfect. It's a perfect role for him.
He has that jitter to him, the eye movement. He's got the big eyes.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a tick to him the way, and he still does that in all of his movies. He's always kind of got it like that. When he talks, it's very, active when his conversations, kind of like what I'm doing right now, using my hand.
And I could listen to him just yammer on about anything for pretty much ever. Whenever he's on, does an interview or anything like that, I just watch it, and it's an absolute pleasure.
There's a show on Disney Plus where it's just him talking about specific topics. Have you watched that? The World According to Jeff Goldblum or something like that?
I have not.
It's actually pretty good. Like, he takes a different topic each week. So one week he'll talk about sneakers, and then the next week he'll talk about tattoos, and he talks to people about these things, and it's pretty funny. Gina Davis is a character, Veronica. She's a little cocky herself because she seems like she's beneath all of this stuff, doesn't want to be here, isn't impressed by what he's telling her. He doesn't really.
She's skeptical. I mean, he's saying some pretty big shit here. If you heard that from somebody else, you'd be skeptical too.
Right.
You gotta have some big fucking balls to say what I'm doing on is going to change the world. Everybody else is a dumbass.
Right. And somebody tells you that, you're gonna be like,
yeah,
but
I'm gonna call you out on your bullshit.
Did you guys know that they were an item, Gina Davis and
yes, because they did Earth Girls Are Easy together.
Yeah, and and so that's kind of interesting, watching this movie, the story about a couple going through this and knowing that they were a couple in real life, they were intimate in real life, that kind of stuff.
Well, Cronenberg was actually kind of didn't want to cast her because they were dating. He didn't want to do a couple, but then she killed it at the audition. So he's like, okay, never mind, we'll do this.
I mean, I have to say, if you have anybody else opposite of Jeff Goldblum here, I don't know if it works as well. I mean, they play perfectly off of each other in this movie.
I think it's their chemistry, like Eric was saying, because they had already been dating. I mean, that's what they're basically doing.
Yeah.
Through the whole movie is initiating a romance and then carrying on with it. So, I mean, they already do that in real life. So,
it should be said that I don't think, neither one of them are really looking for a relationship at the beginning of this. I don't think. Jeff Goldblum may be trying to court her. I mean, maybe that's his way of courting people is his cockiness about his work that he's doing. But, she doesn't seem to be buying into it. She doesn't really get interested until she sees that what he's doing is actually something that's worth writing a story about.
Yeah, he's got great piano skills too for first date.
I think Jeff Goldblum's actually plays that shit too.
Yeah, he does.
Oh yeah, because he plays music now. He's in like a jazz quartet or whatever. He's got like a music career essentially. Yeah. He's a hell of a interesting character.
Damn right.
Just that dude. I have like a man crush on Jeff Goldblum or something. I don't know.
Well, first things first, I mean, it looks like he's driving her to his hideout because he's a fucking serial killer. This does not look like it should be a scientific laboratory.
There's some red flags going up.
For sure.
A lot of red flag talk these days. When a mad scientist takes you back to a weird warehouse in a bad area of town, don't follow him in. And she shouldn't have followed him in because things do not go well for after this.
And he doesn't make a good name for him or a good way for himself when he says,
"Oh, it's too late. You've already seen them. Can't let you leave here alive."
That shit's fucking hilarious.
At that point in time, you freaking grab your shit and you run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Even though it is Jeff Goldblum, and like I said, most women would stay because they think he's super hot, but still, that's a little creepy.
He's pretty hot in this movie. Hey, let's talk about the design of these pods.
I knew it.
How cool do they look?
I fucking knew Eric was going to gush over the design of these telepods.
Okay. All right, says he loves it. Where did Cronenberg get the idea for the design?
I don't know.
Cronenberg come up with the design from the cylinder heads on his Ducati motorcycle.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
If you look at them
with the fin, like the fins or whatever on there.
Yep.
Yeah. Coolant fins or whatever they are.
Yeah, because I did all those notes before I watched the movie, and I'm like, dude, those are totally motorcycle cylinders. I mean, they're a little shaped a little different.
Yeah,
but if they were to go straight up, totally.
I've never heard that. That's very cool. And I love inspiration like that. I mean, inspiration come from anywhere. And as long as you're inspired, and that's what makes good design is inspiration. So that's very cool. Yeah, I love the way they look. All that stuff is very cool. I mean, it you think of cinema, like the greatest, sci-fi designs in cinema. You think of the xenomorph, you think of the DeLorean, and you think of like all these different things. The fly pods have to be up there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm watching this movie. I've watched this movie twice for the podcast, just for research and everything. But both times I'm watching it, as soon as the telepods pop up on screen, I was like, Eric's fucking creaming his pants. I know Eric's going to say how much he fucking loves these telepods.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, metaphorically, yes.
Yeah. And we get the introduction to the great grandpa of Alexa, which is his computer system. And it's like, again, we've talked about this. Is like, has sci-fi movies really inspired the things that we have nowadays? But I mean, here he is talking to a computer and is typing it all out. And back in 1986, you're just like, wow. Even as a kid, like, dude, his computer is typing what he's saying.
So here's a question I have about the computer. Is the computer an AI? Because he seems to like all his mistakes and successes with this computer come with descriptions. He describes and he tries to teach this computer about whatever, the flesh and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
When he's got the steak and like he's trying to teach the computer to understand, oh, don't make it a synthetic copy. It has to have these qualities to it for it to work. I mean, this thing is a learning computer, right? It's a CPU processor. A learning computer.
But an AI would basically be sentient, and it would know to do this on its own, because he even makes a remark: the computer will only do what I tell it to. I have to teach it.
Well, I think there's degrees of what we're discussing here, but he's not just coding a computer. He's talking to it. He's talking about ideas with this computer, not just data. He's not just dealing with code and chemical makeups. He's talking about concepts, ideas, things that a normal computer will not compute. Something about this computer, there's more to it than your average.
There's definitely an interesting spot for a question there, because like you said, I mean, he is having to teach this thing. He is having to explain and make it learn what the flesh is and all of that. But he also realizes, once all this shit starts going haywire, his simple little telepods have become a gene splicer. So the computer made the choice itself to do what it did. So therefore it is learning on its own. It has, there is definitely a question, like, is this a form of AI? Like, I can agree with that.
Well, because later when they go through there, it's like it knew that it picked up his chemical makeup of oxygen, all that stuff, but it had that, but it didn't know what to do. It was confused of what to do. So it just said, well, I'll put them together.
Yeah.
Right. The computer made a decision.
Yeah.
Which is, suggests sentience.
Now, there are a few things about the stuff they do with the telepod here that I do have questions about, because it seems as though, we get our first instance of the telepod when he sends her stalking through. And at this point, he's told her it can only do inanimate objects. It can't do anything living.
Nothing organic.
Yeah. And he's not making a good case for himself, not being a serial killer, because he's like, do you have something personal? Maybe some jewelry? Or it's like, it's like, are you trying to rob me? Are you trying to murder me? What is going on here?
Are you some kind of weirdo? Because I mean, at first when she goes to reach her hand up her skirt, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
What is she pulling off? But she just pulls the whole stocking off and gives
I thought she was going to just give him her shoe.
That's what I thought. Like, why didn't you just give him the shoe?
Yeah.
Well, that's the first kind of, we're dealing a lot with, now obviously we're with Cronenberg, so
yeah, there's
the word flesh is going to come up, but we're also dealing with, there's a lot of sex in this movie. There's a lot of, which is apparently there was some people thought this movie was about AIDS. Did you guys?
Yeah, there was
this?
A big misconception about that.
So yeah, and it came out at the height of the AIDS epidemic, and so that was on people's minds, and then it is so heavily sexually driven.
Yeah,
and you could obviously draw some sexually transmitted disease lines here with, you know, some of the stuff that goes on. But Cronenberg says that was not the case. It's more about, for him, it was more about like aging and the inevitability of time and falling apart and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Trying to work out our faults, our
and just
human defects.
Yeah. And just the idea that the flesh is temporary. It's not something that will last forever, you know, just by its own nature, the flesh is temporary. But
did anybody take
this
a
is
counter?
our first. How many times they say flesh?
How many times that, how many times does Seth Brundle say flesh, and how many times Eric's going to say flesh in this one segment right here?
Oh, just wait till we get to the fucking Videodrome eventually, my friend.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's all about the flesh, baby. But this is your first thing of like, you know, there's some sexual tension, obviously, but she decides, like you say, it could have been anything. It could have been a wristwatch. It could have been a library card, whatever. But she decides to take her stocking off, which is just such a, you know, weird sexual connotation.
But no, I mean, it is funny that he shows her all of this and then he realizes, oh, she's a journalist. But I mean, she instantly, like, you know, at the snap of a finger, things change with her because, he has shown her something that is going to be big and she wants to be a part of that. You can see like a light bulb go off above her head, basically.
Oh, yeah.
And what's funny, again, like the whole serial killer thing, like he tells her to reach in and grab that thing out of the pod. I'm like, girl, like he could just push you in there at any moment, lock you in that pod. Like you need to be guarding yourself, but she goes.
He's
for
like
it.
the reason organics don't work is I haven't tried it yet on a human subject.
Yeah.
Thanks for volunteering.
Yeah, go in there and get that stocking real quick.
Yeah, just
kind of like Hansel and Gretel. Can you reach in the back of the oven? Let me just push you in.
Just a couple more steps in there. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Don't worry.
Okay.
The doors are automatic.
Quick note. I like that he hasn't built all this by himself. I like that he outsources some of his stuff, and it's more like conceptual. He's like Steve Jobs, you know, like he's like got these ideas and he's like, make this work, make that work. He doesn't know everything, which is part of, I think, what gets him in trouble. Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, I like it because he says, you know, I don't know how to make a laser and I don't know how to do this. I had them build it, but he put it all together.
Yeah.
In the end. So that was pretty cool how he did all that. I mean, you don't really get that exposition in some movies like that. You just think that the guy designed it all by himself. So she goes, like she said, she was a journalist. She was recording everything. He's freaking out because he doesn't want this for people to know about what he's doing there, especially like Bartok, the company that's actually footing the bill.
Yeah.
Bartok said, yeah, you need to put a Bartok counter.
Yeah, a Bartok counter and a flesh counter. I got too many fucking counters I got to put on this episode, fellas.
But we get back and she's talking to, I guess, her editor. I think that's what he is.
His name is Stathis
Borans.
Stathis Borans.
Yeah, what the hell is with this name? This is a Cronenberg thing, right?
Just gotta be.
He's always got weird name, but I just want to, like, Eric will get this. I just want to call him Stannis Baratheon the whole fucking time.
Yeah, Stannis. Yeah, I kept thinking of Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I mean, let's just look at the name. First of all, this will come up when we talk Almost Famous, but this is a very small movie.
Oh yeah,
there are not many
cast.
people in this movie, but you've got Seth Brundle, which is a little weird. Gina Davis is Veronica Quaife,
but they call her.
I'm afraid
Ronnie.
to say that. Yeah, I'm afraid to say that last name. And then,
and then Veronica Quaife. I don't know.
There you go. All class. This guy.
Well, we all knew Jason was going to be the one to do it.
All class.
I'm calling it like it is.
You got Stathis. You got Tawny. You got Dr. Cheevers. I mean, all these names are weird.
It's like he spent a week trying to think of the most hardest to pronounce names for these characters.
His other movies are like that too.
All his character names are fucking weird. And like I watched Videodrome after I watched this earlier this week, and yeah, the names in that are all fucking weird too.
Okay, and I don't know.
Kind of awesome.
Not only that, I'm a car guy, and I'm still trying to figure out what kind of fucking car he drives.
Yeah, that emblem on the front.
Cronenberg likes to do some nice vehicles in his when he does show vehicles and stuff like that, and it kind of looks a little futuristic. I don't know what kind of fucking car that is.
Yeah, it was a weird emblem on the front, like it looked like something German or some shit like that, but I couldn't make out what it was either.
Because she's driving a Saab, I know that, And then I was like, what is this car? Because of the lines on it. It's not not a DeLorean that we know of, but I thought maybe it was a DeLorean design vehicle, but it's not.
That was kind of what I was thinking. Was it was a DeLorean?
Yeah,
I don't know if they made any other
by
models.
DeLorean.
Yeah,
but not the Back to the Future type DeLorean.
Right.
It's a very weird looking car, and it fits his personality because it looks like a dickhead's car, and he's a dickhead. So
yeah, that is the biggest thing about this movie for me is we're introduced to this guy who is an absolute fucking douchebag. He's a douchebag from the moment you meet him. He doesn't really have an arc in this movie. He continues to be a douchebag, yet he's the hero of the movie.
Yeah, and he's a creeper. He is a creeper.
Yeah,
big time, dude.
Well, it's interesting that are we gonna call her Ronnie?
Yeah, we'll call her Ronnie. That's what everybody in the movie calls her.
Okay, fine.
Just call her Ronnie, Eric.
It's interesting that Ronnie doesn't really have anyone to go to except for Stathis, right? Like,
yeah, her ex-boyfriend.
Friends. Yeah, like the guy that she's trying to get rid of, but like she doesn't really have anyone else in her life apparently, because when things get sideways here, that's who she goes to. And I guess, you know, she does work with him, so part of it's that she has to report to him. But yeah, there doesn't appear to be anyone else in her life.
Well, one thing I will say for Ronnie in this movie is, even after we're introduced to him, almost every word that comes out of his mouth, he is gaslighting the living shit out of Ronnie. But Ronnie has no qualms about standing up to him. She gives the bullshit back to him at every turn. Yeah. So, you know, you've got a little bit of push and pull there, but I love the fact that he continues to gaslight her till the end of this fucking movie. And unfortunately, the way the movie ends up, she ends up in a bad place. I hate that it has to take that direction, you know, because she has stood up to him throughout the entire movie. And then, like Eric just pointed out, she has no one else to turn to but this gaslighting dick face.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that, like you said, you don't know their past. I mean, you know that they dated, they split up. He lived with her because he said something about having the key to her apartment. He says,
well, he was a professor of hers in college, and they got together, and then I guess whatever went sour. That's all you really know.
And she got him in, or he got her into the journalism world and everything. But the thing is, I mean, he used to live there because he said, "Do you want me to move? I'll just move back in." Blah blah blah. Whatever. But the fact, I mean, he still had a key. You break up, you take your fucking key. You don't want people just randomly in your house when you're not there. You know?
I mean, this is one of those situations where, you know, it's kind of like a Me Too thing where he was a professor. He gave her opportunities. He used his position to leverage things against her. He became her boss. Like, I mean, it's cool that she's kind of fighting him off at this point, but he's taken advantage of her quite a bit over the course,
and unfortunately you've got that exchange between them where she asked for the key and he's like, "I'll keep it for good time's sake." You know, he's still like, you can tell he's kind of a threat. Like there's never a point where I feel like, until we get to the very end of this movie, I feel like he is more of a threat than Seth is at any given moment in this movie. Now, there is a point where Seth starts to go crazy and, you know, things get bad, but I don't think Seth at any point would ever harm her until he is so desperate that he does what he does in the end.
Well, because he's basically no longer human. He's thinking of two minds, two species of minds. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, because he even tells her, you know, you got to leave because I might hurt you.
So I think it is very smart for him to leverage her a little bit. And, you know, he's doing basically what Stathis does to her in a different way. He goes to her and he says, "Listen, you document my work. You can take as much information as you can stand, write the book, be there with me, document everything." That was a great play on his part to get her on his side and to help protect his research. I think that was pretty smart. And I really like the decision for him to do that. And it gives them a chance to actually build a relationship. He's not just some weirdo. He's actually a fucking genius who was, you know, almost got a Nobel Prize before. Like, he knows what he's doing, and he really genuinely needs someone to talk to. Like, you can tell he's coming from a lonely place. He's tired of not having someone to talk to about these things.
Yeah, and apparently she is too, because she doesn't have anyone other than her shitty ex-boyfriend.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to our first gross part of the movie.
Yeah.
The baboon.
The baboon.
It's
The
not a monkey.
baboons-
It's a baboon.
Baboon's a monkey, isn't it? Baboon's a monkey.
It's a baboon.
Okay.
They're some of the best actors in this movie, though.
I love the baboons. I want to hold a baboon. I love when he hangs out with the baboon. He holds
Yeah.
it. Like, I want a baboon friend. But baboons will like eat your face off or something, right? If
Yeah.
you're not careful, they'll bite your nose and your lips
Yeah,
off.
I do believe they can be very
Yeah.
Very
ferocious, violent. But I even like their conversation later when he just has a few drinks. He just carries on a whole conversation with
Yeah,
the
that
baboon.
whole scene where he's talking to the baboon and he says, I didn't mean to kill your brother. Like and he seems genuinely sincere there too. Like you can tell this guy is a sympathetic person.
Here's a question, though. I mean, sincere perhaps, but why not use a mouse first? You're
That
talking
was
about
my question.
You can't do organic transfers. You're going to go for a baboon, which is one of the world's largest monkeys. It is a monkey, by the way. I just Googled it.
It's a fucking baboon.
So it is. It's like a rectangle square situation. It's both. But yeah, why not start with a fly or a cockroach or a mouse? Why go to a larger animal that?
How about a lab rat? That's
Yes, a lab rat.
for. So
I think
Or like a dog, like a
whoa,
puppy.
whoa,
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 whoa, whoa,
whoa. Yeah, let's just
No, but for real, like you got to work your way up. You can't go from a stocking to a
do a
baboon.
baboon.
Why
Yes.
not a rat? Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think I love that whole speech he gives about Bartok. Bartok company leaves him alone because he's doing all this
Cheap.
stuff and he's cheap and all that, and he just gets
Right.
supplied with whatever they can give
Baboons
him.
aren't cheap.
Well, I think the thing is Bartok, that's what they're able to supply him. I think he's only taking what he can get. So maybe he asked for a subject and that's what they sent him. Maybe he didn't have a
So
choice.
you're
in the
saying he
matter.
couldn't buy a $3 rat at the store?
Maybe not.
He couldn't afford
Smart,
it. They,
Betland.
he said, "I need some animals to test on." They go, "Well, we don't have any rats. Here, take these 2 baboons. We got all these extra baboons. You want one of these?"
Well, here's where one of my questions for this movie comes in is we're concerned with the matter that's going through these telepods and how they're being broken down and put back together when they move from one to the other. The thing that gets me about this is when they do the steak test, because he puts the steak in with a plate. So my guess is they're breaking down both those materials. So why didn't the plate and the steak fuse together?
Oh, Josh is a brilliant
That is
motherfucker
interesting.
right there.
And
Holy shit, I did not think of that.
And it also poses the question of, well, I have another issue with the steak scene too, but I'll get to that in a second. It also poses the question at the end when he's trying to combine them, when he's trying to fix himself and make the gene splicer put the human DNA back in. He puts Ronnie in the teleporter with all of her clothing on when he's been transporting himself naked the whole
Totally
time.
nude.
Like, I think that would still cause issues. I think if, let's consider the source here. Let's consider what got us in this from the first place. We had a human and a fly DNA. So if you
Yes.
have organic and non-organic materials, don't you think that's going to cause more problems?
Well, I mean, yes, that raises the question also of what other things. I mean, we all know about things that are microscopic organisms that
Yeah.
live on the body, that are just flying around, dust mites, like forget about flies,
Amoebas.
it's a massive mistake to let a fly buzz in there. Like, obviously you need like a clean environment. You need you can't just
Sterile.
have these things sitting in your warehouse. You have to have like a clean room
Yeah.
first,
Mm-hmm.
a complete cleaning, shower. You got to this is something you have to have perfectly clean if you're going to transport and make some. He's just got this in this dumpy old place. He's lucky a rat didn't walk in there, or a
Yeah.
slice of pizza or something fell in there, a chicken wing. He could be all
He could be
kinds of shit.
He could be Brundle
Speaking of-
chicken.
Hey, or speaking of that, he could be Brundle rat shit. What if a rat took a dump in there
Yeah,
and he did it? He is now fused with.
I'm turning.
rat shit.
I'm turning into a half man, half rat shit.
What if that happened and he came out looking like the fucking Rat Fink, man? The fucking old school Rat Fink from the tattoos and stuff.
That would be awesome.
Oh, Jesus
Hot Rod.
Christ.
But yeah,
no,
I mean,
that's...
we're nitpicking on that. Yeah, but hey, it's continuity.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, anything that goes in that thing is going to be an issue.
Now, the other thing I have an issue with when he does the steaks is he cuts a steak in half and uses one and the other to do tests. When he feeds the steak to Ronnie, if you're paying attention to the cuts that he makes of the steak,
yes, the cuts are inconsistent.
He feeds her the first one, and the first one is the one that went in the telepod.
Is that on purpose?
I don't know. I don't know if that's an actual thing from the script or if that's just a movie mistake.
I don't know. Probably a movie mistake.
I didn't see anything about it, but yeah, I noticed that as well.
Continuity.
So that
it's
was
a major
error
there.
Unfortunately, when you watch things multiple times to research for a podcast, you find little issues like that. But I do like the explanation. I do like when she tries the steak and she gives him some shit there. She's like, well, it needs a little finesse, but tastes like steak. It's like, dude, you need some seasoning. You need some fucking salt, some pepper, some garlic, maybe a little rosemary. I mean, give me a good meal here.
A little butter. Yeah, we're good.
But I love that she's like, oh, it tastes synthetic. And then that cues him in. And he, like, you can, again, light bulb in his head. He knows what he needs to do from that point.
Right. But the solution there is to teach the computer about the flesh, which is such a weird, like, conceptual thing. Like when he starts talking about the flesh and the desire, I don't know if he uses that word. I can't remember exactly what he says, but something about it gets philosophical, I guess is what I'm saying. And how do you teach a computer? I guess that you can't. And that's why we had the gene splice issue. But yeah, I mean, it's just weird. Like it's like, instead of saying, oh, I need to change these compounds, I need to change this, I need to change that, I had to teach this computer.
Yeah.
I had to teach this program to understand the human desire for flesh or something.
Well, it's all in what she says about the grandma wanting to grab the cheeks because the flesh and all that stuff. And here's another thing. When I was a kid watching this movie, there's that incident where, and this has to mean something or else it wouldn't be there, but when he rolls over on the top of that motherboard piece or the microchip, and that was always, for me as a kid, like I thought that was the genesis of how all of this starts to go wrong. I thought something in that microchip caused the issue for him and maybe, just maybe, because he had that wound on his back, maybe that was the invitation to splice the genes. Whereas, you know, of course he has open orifices and whatnot that could do the same thing, but you know, these were tears in the flesh, not organic openings. I feel like because the first thing we see from his start of metamorphosis into this fly is the hairs on that part of his back.
Yeah, the hairs are in that area, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like it was trying to like fix that damaged area with some other. Yeah, I mean, that's such a quintessential Cronenberg thing too, like the weird combination of technology and flesh. I mean, obviously that
video
comes up often. And yeah, and
I mean, you don't know how long this took for him to teach a computer about what flesh is, what is the human body, and not to turn it inside out. So
yeah, it's weird when he talks about the, you know, just another like weird kind of unsettling thing, Cronenbergian thing you could say is, like you said, the squeezing the cheeks.
Yeah,
we're kind of like drawing lines between like lust, but also the grandma or whatever wanting to squeeze the cheeks, such an innocent like childhood thing, and we're drawing a line from there to like sexual urges and stuff. This is the kind of like weird shit that Cronenberg draws comparisons to, and you go, like you're putting those in the same mindset. Yeah. You know,
she made that comment, I just want to eat you up. He's like,
right, I just want to eat you up. Like combining like eating meat with lust, with love, with you know, all these like human emotions with like consuming meat and blood and flesh. It's a weird thing going on.
It's very Cronenberg.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very, very, very. One thing back to Mr. Creepy Stathis rapey guy. He stayed the night to make sure she had stayed there all night, and then follows her when she leaves.
Oh yeah, there's no
Come
doubt
on,
that this
man.
dude is a fucking stalker. There's no fucking doubt.
But even at the clothing store, he looks like he's mad. Like,
He makes a fucking scene, yeah, in a public place. Like, yeah, you need to be far away from this fucking guy. And like, it just goes to show how crazy he is that he would do this in a public place in front of a lot of people and make a complete ass of himself. You know, although I do love the dialogue.
I am finally onto something that's big, huge.
Yeah? What? His cock?
I will say the actor's delivery of that is fucking golden. I love it.
I just want to read something I read about the baboon.
Okay.
It says, and this is from filmschoolrejects.com. I'll just call him out since I'm reading it verbatim. But the director notes the baboon used in the film became attracted to the script supervisor, Gillian Richardson, as she was evidently close to his height. Cronenberg notes this was a problem on set, and Goldblum, who was exponentially taller than the baboon, was able to dominate him. A subservient relationship grew between Goldblum and the baboon, who accepted the lead actor as the alpha male on set.
Wow.
Jeff Goldblum's an alpha male, motherfucker.
Yeah, he's like, I'm a 6'5" baboon.
Jeff Goldblum was like, everyone wants a piece of me on this movie.
Mr. Baboon. Let's be calm.
The flesh will find a way.
Hey.
I love Jeff Goldblum because he says a lot, which so do I.
Yeah.
Makes me feel better about saying so does Obama.
I was actually thinking about this today. I was like, you know, people just have to want Jeff Goldblum in their movie, because I feel like Jeff Goldblum is the kind of guy who's going to come to set and he's like, hey, I'm the actor I am, and you're going to get what you get out of me. And if you don't want it, then you better hire somebody else. Like, he seems like that kind of an actor. It's like you have to want him in your movie, or else you're just going to get something you're totally not looking for.
Yeah, you don't bring in Jeff Goldblum to be like something other than Jeff Goldblum. Why would you change what is already perfect?
That's why he's perfect for like the Grandmaster and fucking Thor.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. Just let him, just cut him loose on set. Let him just be weird.
Yeah, the director and the scriptwriter walk up. Well, this is your lines. I don't do your lines.
Yeah,
you just tell me what my character is, and I'm gonna do it.
Give me general specs, and I'll just
tell me what's going on. What hot chick am I gonna talk to, or whatever, and then I got this. You just go sit down.
I just imagine like the script supervisor trying to approach Jeff Goldblum on the set or whatever, and he gives that fucking laugh that he gives in Jurassic Park. Like the fucking weird ass laugh he does.
Now, okay, so it seems like you like Jeff Goldblum here, Josh, but you don't like Jurassic Park?
Man, fuck Jurassic Park.
Fuck you.
Man.
Fuck you.
Wow.
This is crazy. Say. I can't believe I know all the movies you like. I cannot believe. I mean, you like all Spielberg shit. Why don't you like Jurassic Park? It doesn't make sense.
I don't like all of Spielberg's stuff. Namely, Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park can fucking die. I don't care.
We need to do Jurassic Park very soon, because I need to hear all your complaints and destroy them all for you.
No, to be fair, I play up Jurassic Park a lot. I say I don't like it all the time. Jurassic Park is fine. That's the biggest thing with Jurassic Park for me, is it's fine. It's not anything that I thought was fucking amazing when I was 14 years old, where everybody else did. And there's a whole bunch that goes along with that. We can get into that in a Jurassic Park episode, but yes, I mean, I know our buddies at Not a Bomb have also kind of voiced their concerns, because they're like, wait, what? You don't like Jurassic Park? So a lot of it is for shock value at this point. I understand that it's
our double hand amputee buddies at Not a Palm.
Not a Palm.
Not a Palm.
Sorry.
Hey, is Sathis part of that group?
Oh.
Oh well, but this is now with all this whole Sathis thing going on. Remember, she has to leave to go talk to him, because I guess he's doing his own story on Seth Brundle.
Mm-hmm.
She has to, but then this is where we just talked about our conversation with the baboon. I mean, he's now getting a little tipsy, wanting to try some stuff. He's like, fuck it.
Whoa. The way you sound, it sounds like he's trying to get frisky with this baboon.
Well, it is just, I mean,
Lonely.
hey, hey, remember, he's the dominant here. You just said that.
Fortunately for him, he's the dominant one.
Yes.
Otherwise, Baboon's gonna take things into his own hands, his furry hands.
Literally, his furry hands.
Eric said fortunately, and I could have swore he was about to say foreshadowing.
Oh, no. There is foreshadowing here because the whole entire time he's talking, there's a fly flying around the room at this
And the baboon catches it, right?
No, it
Does
just
the baboon
swats.
catch it?
It just swats it away.
Swats it away, whatever.
That's what I mean by the baboon is one of the best actors in this movie, because that whole scene where he's just like swatting away at the fly, I love that shit.
Yeah, it is surprising how much they get out of the baboon. Seth does the classic scientist mistake, is he is impatient and he wants.
And he's drunk. He's drunk.
Yes, and he wants to get some results, and he's not willing to wait for them the proper way. He doesn't want to go through rats and cats and whatever and work his way up to baboons and eventually humans. He wants to do 1 baboon, 2 baboon, human immediately.
This is why you don't drink in science, ladies and gentlemen.
This is why you don't drink in science.
Yes.
And he drinked, and also he had lady problems, which will make you crazy as well, as we all know. And for a genius to not consider contamination problems in the pod is unforgivable. It could be if it wasn't, I guarantee in that pod with him, other than the fly, was probably, how many dust mites and whatever else. Like, I mean,
Could have been a flea.
Surrounded
flea
by
in there from
a
the
flea
baboon.
from the baboon, a baboon flea, a flea off the baboon's red ass.
Yeah, Brundle flea.
Brundle flea.
The flea too.
The tick. Spoon. But he wakes up in the middle of the night, and all of a sudden he's starring in the 1986 Olympics.
Yeah.
He's doing a floor exercise right there in the living room.
He's become he realizes he's becoming a superhero.
Is Brundle Fly a superhero?
I love that. I mean, it reminds me of Spider-Man.
Yeah,
right?
me too. Yep.
I mean, you got a person gaining the abilities of an insect. I mean, arachnid insect. Leave me alone. I don't split fly hairs on me here, but he's got all these abilities now. I mean, he can even climb on walls like a spider, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Brundle Fly does whatever a Brundle Fly does. Pukes on your hand, sucks it up.
I love the term Brundle Fly.
Yeah, it's good. It's really
Brundle
good.
Fly. You got Brundle, you got Fly, you mix them together, Brundle Fly. It's amazing.
If you notice, he has that walk too. He doesn't that. He walks like this as he's walking toward
It's
her.
a
No
superhero
shirt,
walk, man.
sweat.
Oh
He was-
yeah, it's a sexy Goldblum. Yeah, he's looking good. He's feeling good. Yeah. I mean, you might as well do that in slow motion.
I like when they leave there. Do you have any coffee with your sugar? I mean, just steadily.
Yeah. The sugar starts right. He starts eating all kinds of sugar.
Yeah, you
He's,
obviously know
eating
something
candy
right now.
bars and shit.
Yeah, this is where the mania starts to kick in. It's this conversation at the coffee shop where you really start to see like, oh, something's different. And
he's a little kooky. He's starting to get the twitches.
Yep.
I like the twitches. That's a nice effect.
Dude,
Nice,
and it's so Jeff Goldblum too. He does it in all of his movies. He has that twitch to him.
Well,
when he's talking.
These are
But-
exaggerated.
Yeah, I mean
twitches.
they're a little exaggerated, but
He's
it's
a
just-
little movie, but
Yeah.
he's like super twitching like a damn
And what's
fly
funny,
at this point.
yeah, well, and we go through all this and we get back, and as you start thinking, it's like he is become very animalistic of the world, because like an insect or animals, you're born, you multiply, you die.
Yeah, he wants to eat and he wants to mate.
Yeah,
that's what he
that's
wants,
all. That is the animal way. You eat and you mate and then you die.
Well, he has a monologue about insect politics, right?
And he will be the first insect politician.
Exactly, which is a great thing. And I guess Cronenberg came up with this insect politics thing from his days as an entomologist, which I didn't know that Cronenberg was an entomologist, which is a great way to start out before you make the movie The Fly, right?
And he's a gynecologist.
He's a gynecologist in this movie.
He's later a gynecologist. That's right. But he was fascinated by insect societies, the division of labor, and the caste structure therein. I'm reading this again off that website that I mentioned earlier, Film School Rejects. Interesting. And one of the better, I think, bits of dialogue or monologue or whatever in the film. I really like that when he's kind of in that place at that point where he can think about the pros of both, the pros of being a human, the pros of being an insect. He's getting the strengths of both. He's got his intelligence and he's got his strength from the insect, and he's kind of enjoying that, and he's kind of having a good time there. And then of course things start going more insect and less human.
Well, and this is right there too, is also, you know, 'cause, I mean, he's wanting to go. She's like, I don't know how you have any fluids left in your body, but but then all of a sudden he's like, well, I feel great, you know, I want to put you through, and you're kind of freaking out, like, is he gonna just throw her in there? You know, we are obviously know that there's something wrong with him, and you can even kind of see it already. His face is a little acne.
Pocky. Yeah, a little pocky,
acne,
looking a little
broken
funky, looking a little sweaty.
Yeah.
He's not that perfect specimen that he started off as.
Yeah. And I
when he was doing
love
gymnastics.
Yeah. And I love when you talk about the dialogue from the point where she says no, and he just freaking goes off on this whole flesh run. I mean, it's that whole section is phenomenal. I love. I mean, there's so many little quotes in there and all the dialogue, and I mean, he's just gone off the. I mean, throws on the jacket. He's gone out because again, he's his animalistic side. I eat. I must mate. I have to keep making more. You know, and that's kind of mindset he's in. I mean, that's what he's doing. He's out just trying to find somebody to have sex with.
You're a fucking drag, you know that?
I love that shit. But all right, let's go ahead and talk about the cast of this bitch.
Almost Famous.
I know that, dude.
I don't know them. I know her.
Haven't you ever heard of that guy? That guy who was in that movie that was out last year?
I'm sort of famous for being almost famous.
Jason, did you underline your almost famous this week?
Yes, I put my little notes
Good.
next to my notation.
Well, there's a total of about 7 people in this movie, so I'm anxious to see what everybody came up with.
We all might say the same person.
I bet we will.
We can't say Gina Davis. We can't say Jeff Goldblum.
Nope, and that leaves
That
us
only
about,
leaves about 6 people.
Yep.
So
No, that leaves 4 or 5. I don't know.
So who did you pick, Jason?
I'm going first.
All right,
Go, Eric. You go first.
I'm going John Getz.
Jason,
Leo
is that
Getz.
yours?
Leo Getz. No. That's 1.
One? That would have been one that I would have picked, but I did get another one.
Well, I'm gonna go. Maybe an argument is I put David Cronenberg.
See, I knew you were going to go there.
But as an actor, not the director, because a lot of people don't really know what he looks like. We do, because he's been in movies like Nightbreed, Jason X, To Die For. He hasn't been as his face up front in many movies. So that's who I
fair.
put.
That's fine. Well, yeah, John Getz, he was Stathis, and you know, he was in Social Network, Blood Simple, Zodiac.
Yep.
He's currently in Doom Patrol.
Yeah.
So
Doom Patrol, I've seen the first episode, first season, but not the second season.
Yeah, he was in American Horror Story. He was in Bosch.
Yeah, he's been in a handful of stuff. I'm going a similar route as Jason. I'm going with someone who's prominent in David Cronenberg movies. I'm going with Leslie Carlson, and he's the doctor, the abortion doctor they go to.
Yeah.
He is in Videodrome. He is in The Dead Zone. I believe he's in Scanners. So he's a friend of
Black
Cronenberg.
Christmas, the original Black Christmas.
Yeah, it was original Black Christmas. So that was my pick for Almost Famous.
Nice.
So.
I think the general movie watcher would probably recognize John Getz the most out of any of these people. But That's what this is for. We're here to highlight the people that we find in these movies. Nobody else fucking matters.
No,
God damn it.
I mean, I know Cronenberg. I mean, like his part in this movie, his face is covered because he's the gynecologist. But I remember him as Decker in Nightbreed.
Which
is
yep.
one of my favorite characters in movies.
Well, to be fair, his face is covered in half of that movie too.
Yeah.
Well, surprisingly enough, a cast of 7 people, and we all picked someone different. So hey, good for us.
That's great.
Yay!
So we're gonna get here. Jeff Goldblum's fucking fed up with Ronnie at this point. You can tell he's changing. He decides he's going to go find somebody that's willing to go through these machines. And we're going to talk about now the other scene in this movie that fucking scarred me as a child is this arm wrestling scene.
Oh, man.
It is one of the first instances of me seeing a broken bone
compound fracture
come out of the arm of someone. Like, I remember watching this as a kid. And not only that, like, before that happens, you get the close-up shot of Goldblum's hand gripping this other guy's, and that white pussy stuff is coming out of the fingers.
Yeah,
and
that's what I had that in my notes. It's like, is that something like the fluid come in? I mean, I've seen it. I know he breaks his arm because of brute strength. But then I kind of wondered, is it the stuff that's coming out of him weakening the guy's arm, like the flesh and the bone where he can break it? Because I'm just kind of wondering. I mean, because he's excreting these weird fluids.
I think it's just he's gooey. He's a gooey fly man. I don't know. I think it's just his flyness.
He's too fly for a white guy. Oh shit!
Wow, somebody made that joke
at the same time. Was this before or after the fingernail?
No, this is before.
Before.
This is before.
Yeah.
So this is the first kind of milky discharge we see.
Yeah.
Oh,
my next question was: do we think that stuff that's coming out of his fingers is the stuff that helps him walk on walls and stuff? Is that what that's supposed to be?
Maybe it's a grip thing. Yeah. Maybe it's a gluey grip thing. I don't think it. I don't think it matters. It's just he's getting buggy. He's getting a little buggy.
It's Cronenberg. We need goo. We need goo.
Need some goo.
Lots of goo right now.
It reminds me of one of my favorite Rick and Morty episodes when he fucking changes everybody and he's like,
"Boy, Morty, I really Cronenberg the world up, didn't I? You got a whole planet of Cronenbergs walking around down there, Morty. At least they're not in love with you anymore, though. It's a huge step in the right direction."
I did it, Marty. I Cronenberg the world, Marty. That shit's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, they have to abandon their world on that episode.
Yeah, that
completely.
Episode's fucking heavy, man. But I think that was the episode that finally roped me into Rick and Morty. I was kind of like on the line as I was watching that show, but that when I was like, oh shit, that's fucking funny. This show's awesome. I'm going to watch this shit. However, I haven't watched any of the last season.
I still never watched this show.
It's hard to watch right now.
Yeah, I watched the pickle. I think I seen the Pickle Rick episode that everybody talked about. It's pretty funny. I never went back and watched the rest of it.
Oh man, it's fun. Like if you just got 20 minutes to kill, go back and watch an episode of Rick and Morty from time to time. That shit's pretty fucking funny.
Hey, we get our little bar fly of a lady. We meet Tawny.
Poor Tawny. I feel bad for her. She is. I mean, Seth has gone super date rapey at this point.
Oh, yeah. And
he
looks like
forcing
shit.
her. Yeah, he's forcing her into each situation, and she's clearly drunk or whatever, and he's pushing her through each thing and getting her. I feel bad for Tawny in this movie more than anybody, really.
Well, I mean, when he said, I'll pay you whatever to do this, and I get the girl. And like, he didn't even give her a choice. I'm like, whoa.
Well, I love her response. She says, "Do I look like a hooker to you?"
Well,
cue to 5 minutes later after you break the guy's arm, she's going home with you. So she's not a hooker, but she's got poor decision making skills.
I feel like that's a little bit of weak writing there because, I don't feel like a rational person, even if you had had a few drinks in you, I don't think she would have left with him. But I mean, I understand he's forcing her, but I don't think she puts up much of a fight either. So that's always kind of bothered me.
It is a little easy that he's able to leave after that.
Yeah, because I mean, they walk out the Yeah, they walk out the door and he's basically got his hand on her back, like, let's go.
Yeah.
Go. So.
But yeah, I mean, that also plays into, it doesn't make much sense that she's into being with him once he takes her back. And I mean, she does witness something crazy. I mean, are you a magician? I thought
all right,
that was
this is my
funny.
question about this. Okay. Does him going through the second time, because remember, he goes through it again. He does the teleport.
Yes.
I wonder if that actually accelerated his change, because after this, because that's when Ronnie comes back, then his fingers start popping off and everything else. I mean,
it's possible. Yeah. I mean,
it makes sense.
I don't know.
Yeah. Cause
I thought about that this time. I'm like, okay, he's been through twice.
Well, the other way you could look at that is that it actually works. He went through the second time and it had no change on him, which means it will work as long as you don't get in with a fly. Right.
Or get in with a fly and an open wound.
Right. Or get in with a fly and a rat, a piece of pizza.
But they have the whole him and Tawny have their night together, whatever like that. And this is where I'm talking about the fly thing accelerated after he does that. And she says something like, let me give you a nice alcohol bath. And she puts the alcohol on his skin.
Yeah, he says it burns.
It hurts. Yeah. It hurts, like, and I'm kind of wondering I don't know.
Burns us. No.
But then again, he's going mad again too. He's trying to put Tawny in the damn machine.
You're going to like it.
I don't want to. I'm afraid.
Don't be afraid.
No. Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Best line in this movie, in my opinion, is the...
Yeah, apparently that line came from Mel Brooks.
Yeah, the producer of this movie.
Yeah, who said it casually during a conversation about the script.
All right, so how do we feel about the fingernail scene?
Oh, I love it. I mean, that's what you're looking for, that disgusting body horror, like a squirting fingernail falling off. Excellent.
Yeah, I even have in my notes, it's like at this point, it says, let the gross begin.
Yeah.
From this point on. I mean, we got the baboon turned inside out. Yeah, that was gross. I mean, we've seen that in movies, but from here on out, Cronenberg's a freaking genius with what he does with this.
I love all that stuff in the bathroom, and yeah, it's so unsettling, and it preys on all your fears, right? Like the idea of your fingernails falling off and shit, that's nasty.
Well, not only that, when he squeezes it and it doesn't just ooze out, it shoots out on the freaking mirror.
Yeah, on the mirror, yeah.
Well, I mean, I have weird ass dreams all the time of my fucking teeth falling out.
Ugh.
I have these vivid dreams of like a string or something being in my mouth, and when I pull on it, like it pulls, like it comes from the top of my teeth and like pulls my teeth out.
Oh no!
So, what kind of LSD was this you were taking?
No comment.
That's what I want to know. I don't want that ever. But because of this, what's going on? He's freaking out, and he goes back to Alexa and talks to her and goes, "What happened?" And we find out we saw it because the fly in there, but he is now learning what happens because the computer breaks it down, the matter and everything, and it even prints out a picture of a fly.
So
that was what was in the pod with him.
Let me see if I understand. If the computer would have done what it's supposed to, and like I said, I had problems with the steak and the plate and all that stuff, and it transported those two things separately. So are we meant to believe that the computer got either A, got confused and spliced them together because it was confused, or it's B, the wound that he had on his back and that's how it happened? Ooh. But if things would have went the way they were supposed to, potentially he should have transported and the fly should have transported, and it should have been two separate entities.
Okay, I got what you're doing. I got it. The steak is organic. The plate is inorganic. It can separate the two. The fly and a human being are both organic material. It did not know. It could not.
Jason's good at this sometimes, man.
It could not differentiate with that. Yeah,
he comes in with some good answers when you start poking holes. Jason, props.
Yes.
That boy's smart. That boy's got some smarts to him sometimes.
He's smarter than he looks.
There's people over here in Texas, we smart about flies and humans and telepathies and things.
Telepotties.
Telepotties.
That sounds like a new product for babies in the 2020s. It's fucking, hey, get your baby a telepotty.
A telepotty is where you can send your shit to someone else.
That's what I was about to say. You shit here, it sends it to the toilet.
Oh my God.
Never have to change a diaper again. As soon as it comes out, it
telepotty.
I've been thinking about it since you said it earlier. And I think that's why they can do clothes if he does her. It can differentiate between non-organic things. It's learned now what organic and inorganic are.
So what if she had a fur coat on?
It's probably fake fur anyway.
It's probably fake fur, he says. He's dodging that question.
I don't know. But no, I mean, back to what we're doing, like the plate and the steak, and then a fly and a human.
Right. What if she's got a silk shirt on? Or wool?
It's probably fake.
Actually, cotton is organic too.
I'm just but
I mean,
we're talking about
it was the 80s. She's probably wearing polyester.
So what you're saying is Jason is not as smart as we just tried to make him out.
Hopefully she wasn't wearing leather shoes.
Yes. Well, no, but that
leather belt, or she would have been part cow.
Brundle cow.
No, she would have been slacks from that movie. She would have been a walking pair of pants walking around.
She'd have been Ronnie Cow.
Yeah. But as far as in the movie with the plate and the steak and fly and a human, I think that's the argument right there.
Okay.
It could not differentiate the two organisms.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
I could take that.
All right. Here, put that in the counter. Jason's right. One. It'll
First
stay
time
right
ever.
there as one.
This is really where we start to get the ticks and the jerking the head back and forth and the moving of the eyes a lot. Like, I really love that Jeff Goldblum goes overboard here with all this stuff, especially with his eyes. Like, if you watch his eyes, they're constantly moving the entire time.
Yeah. And they apparently intentionally tried to make his final look kind of carry over his sort of emotional, the human eyes a little bit, even though they're big.
Yeah.
They tried to kind of carry over Goldblum's he's got kind of buggy eyes, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's why I said he fits this character perfectly. The features, like I said, in his face, but also his, physical acting. I mean, it's just great as a fly. I think he pulls it all perfect.
So in reality, do we think that Ronnie would really be coming back to this? Again, this is where having a small cast sort of hurts the movie a little bit, because you would have had to have gone to somebody. If you'd have seen this shit, you would go to somebody other than your ex-boyfriend, boss guy. You need to go tell someone what's happening here, other than your creepy ex-boyfriend.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
we're existing in a small world here, a small circle. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe something about her becoming. I can't remember. Did she know she's pregnant at this point?
At this point, no. She learns after the first time she sees him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because she is definitely disturbed at that point. Because remember, he can barely walk. That's when he pukes.
Yeah.
For the first time.
Right.
I kind of like that there's a degradation and then a rejuvenation. You see him kind of degrade at that point, and then the next time she visits, he's walking up the walls. He's starting to jitter and whatnot. He tells her about the Brundle Museum of Natural History.
Which
that's a great line.
Did anybody notice in there? I swear that was his penis in one of those jars.
I think it might have been.
I think it's his penis.
Oh, really? I did not notice that.
Yeah, I mean, because I've seen this a lot as a kid, and you're talking about all of his organs that fell off. I mean, his ear fell off. You're kind of thinking a fly has
what else
no
fell off?
use
And
for
then
a
later,
penis.
there's nothing there later.
Yeah,
arguably.
so you kind of, sorry, ladies, if you're in a Jeff Goldblum, he lost his penis in this movie.
That first time she visits him, though, and he's talking to her, and he vomits on the donut. Do you think that's the first time that's happened? Because he seems shocked by that.
That's what I'm saying. I think the first time when he's sitting there talking to her and he just all of a sudden does it, he's like, oh, well, I think he even says that's new or something like that. I can't remember exactly what he said.
And then his ear immediately falls off afterwards. I love how close those two are together. When he does the barf and then my ear fell off.
And what was funny is reading the stuff for this movie, that's the only scene in the movie that freaked her out, was the fact when his ear fell off and she was had to be that close to him when it happened. She said that actually disturbed her.
See, that's the thing. That's the thing about her character is like she seems to be all in on him, even though this shit's happening, because she's even at that point, this ear has just fallen off in front of her. He's got all this gross fucking mucus and whatnot all over his shirt, and she's still like hugging up on him, and she like you can tell she's
concerned
distraught
about him. And again, we know she doesn't have anyone else in her life other than that creeper. So, you know,
right?
She's got kind of all her eggs in this basket, all her fly eggs.
Okay, well, since we're talking, before we start talking about fly eggs, let's get to a bigger quote.
You're gonna need a bigger quote.
All right, a bigger quote. This is a segment where we highlight some of our favorite quotes from the movie, big or small. But first, Jason gives us the taglines.
Okay.
Jason, give us the taglines.
All right. Well, the same thing we did last time with taglines. We got a couple good taglines, and I wrote a few of my own. And maybe my buddies here can figure out what Hollywood wrote and what I wrote.
All right.
All right, here we go. Well, the first one, I'll just go ahead and say it because we know it. The be afraid, be very afraid. It was on
That's real. That's real. I think that's real.
Yeah,
that's a good one. That's a good one.
Body horror at its best.
You wrote that.
Yes, I did. All right, you ready? Half man, half insect, total terror.
I think that's a genuine tagline.
I think Jason wrote that.
So Eric says he thinks I wrote it. Josh is correct. That's Hollywood.
I was reaching there.
Evolution took a big leap, but in the wrong direction.
Ooh.
No, I think that's real.
I think Jason wrote that.
Josh won again. I wrote that.
God damn it.
But thanks, Eric, for thinking that Hollywood would have wrote it. Maybe I need to go find a new job.
Jason, the tagline guy.
And then it's funny you guys said this earlier, but I wrote the flyest brother on the block.
Good.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but when y'all both said he's too fly for a white guy, I was like, that's just too funny that y'all said that. So, but oh well. Okay, quotes. What we got for quotes? There's a lot of quotes in this movie.
Eric, you've been gunning to do this movie, so we'll say this was your pick this week, so you get to start.
All right.
Oh, am I boring you? Are we fucking boring you? Do you need to go
just
take a
yawn.
fucking nap? Go take a nap, you old man.
Roll it back.
And
no. Action. Action. All right. I like when they get to his lab at the beginning. He says it's cleaner.
It's cleaner on the inside.
He thinks you're a con man.
Excellent.
Great. The world's largest microwave oven. I'm glad I didn't give you my Rolex. Somehow I get the feeling you don't get out much.
You can tell that?
Yeah.
Is this a romance we're having? Is that what it is?
Yeah, could be a romance. I don't think I get it. What happened?
You get it all right. You just can't handle it. Is it live or is it Memorex?
If you plan to make anything disappear, please let me know. I've got an assistant editor who's outlived his usefulness.
We've got to do this, Seth. Talk to the tape. Get in the habit. The world will want to know what you're thinking.
Fuck is what I'm thinking. You're afraid to dive into the plasma pool, aren't you? You're afraid to be destroyed, recreated, aren't you? I bet you think that you woke me up about the flesh, don't you? But you only know society's straight line about the flesh. You can't penetrate beyond society's sick, gray fear of the flesh. Drink deep or taste not the plasma spring. See what I'm saying? I'm not just talking about sex and penetration. I'm talking about penetration beyond the veil of the flesh. A deep, penetrating dive into the plasma pool. You have to leave now. And never come back here. Have you ever heard of insect politics? Neither have I. Insects don't have politics. They're very brutal. No compassion, no compromise. We can't trust the insect. I'd like to become the first insect politician. I'm saying I'm an insect who dreamt he was a man and loved it. But now the dream is over and the insect is awake.
No, Sid.
I'm saying I'll hurt you if you stay.
That whole scene is amazing. When he realizes that he's no longer human. But I don't want to completely skip over this because this is another eye fucking scene here. Like eye scarring scene is this dream sequence where she's having this abortion done. And
just an abortion scene on its own is pushing the envelope here.
Yeah.
Even nowadays, but it's, you know,
back in 86.
Yeah. And things are getting crazy. Like you're like, oh shit, we're going to watch this abortion happen.
Yeah.
You don't really know that it's a dream and it doesn't really matter until, did you get Eraserhead vibes from that?
A little bit. Yep. I honestly find Eraserhead a lot more fucked up than this.
Me too. Just because everyone's completely creeping me out in that movie, not just
fucking Eraserhead. Eraserhead is a living nightmare. Like Eraserhead is a nightmare on film. That's the best way I can describe Eraserhead. And I fucking love every minute of it. But yeah, I remember seeing this as a kid and just being like, what the fuck am I watching? Like, could not comprehend what I just saw when they pull that giant fucking maggot out of her.
Yeah. Little larvae type.
Yeah.
It's, and of course, Cronenberg, who directs him, has to be there. He's the one holding the larvae in his hand.
Yeah.
He's the gynecologist. So, I mean, it totally fits. He gets to do one of the most disturbing parts of the movie. He's the one in the middle of the scene.
Mm-hmm. But no, this scene where she finally goes to go get the abortion and when he jumps through that giant fucking window scared the living shit out of me when I was a kid, man.
Dude, yeah, because it's sitting there, you're in a doctor's office and all you see is a shadow. Bam!
Like I did not see it coming at all. And to be completely honest, I kind of forget that's going to happen sometimes because, like I said, I watch this movie sporadically. It's not a movie that I like to watch over and over again. There's some pretty heavy and gross shit in it, so not one that I like to give multiple viewings to, but usually if it's been a while since I've seen it, I kind of forget that's about to happen, and that scene still kind of gets me a little bit. And he looks fucking bad when he goes through that window.
I love the different stages of Brundlefly. I love every single one. I mean, we should probably just starting off with, few blemishes here and there, but then his face gets kind of like blistery. And then he turns into this weird, like kind of, he's like all bruised and like
gooey,
bumpy. And like his skin is turning like this, like dark red, like gnarly color. And he's starting to, his shape's changing, he's hunching over, his lips are weird, his teeth are falling out. He's really getting gnarly here.
One of my favorite things when he is going through this metamorphosis, when she comes to see him and he's climbing on the wall and he's like halfway down and he goes,
Oh, look at this. What's this? I don't know.
And then he covers it back up. I love how he kind of keeps a sense of humor throughout a lot of this, especially when he comes when he's like, "Oh, you got me on video there," and he's like,
You got me there? How does Brundlefly eat? Well, he found out the hard and painful way that he's very much the way a fly eats. His teeth are now useless because although he can chew up solid food, he can't digest it. Solid food hurts. So, like a fly, Brundlefly
breaks down solids with a corrosive enzyme.
Welcome to Brundlefly. And he talked.
It's like, and he said about a children's book. He said this will make a great children's book.
Yeah, like this is a great time for him to shine comedically in a movie that kind of needs it at that point. I have to say, like, this movie's pretty dark through and through, and it's nice to have those little points where he's having that little, hey kids, today with Brundlefly, I'm going to teach you about vomit drop. You know, like,
and back to that, we kind of pass over that because I want to talk about that. That's actually probably one of the parts of the movie that actually gets me as far as like, oh,
well, yeah.
And it's not what you see. It's when, because that's happening and she's videoing it, but then it cuts to Sathis watching the video and you can hear it in the background.
Yeah.
That actually makes me more woozy than actually seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
Is to hear it. And because when I was watching it this time, I was like, ooh, because you can the portrayal on the character's face, Sathis, the disgust and like he's about to lose it, I think is what makes me feel that way.
Yeah, I mean that's a that's a filmmaking thing where it does give you a different experience watching somebody else react to it, you know.
Yeah, that part
than
like,
watching it yourself. It's like reaction videos. It's the world's first reaction videos.
It's a children's book.
Check this guy out. He turns into a fucking fly. You won't believe it.
He pukes on his food and it sucks.
Me reacting to Brundlefly.
Oh, God.
Like and subscribe now. Kids reacting to Brundlefly. What do kids think?
We need a children's book of Brundlefly.
No. We need to somehow set it up to where we get a handful of 10 to 12-year-olds and show them the fly.
Let me stop you there.
Wait, that could have been bad.
No good idea starts with, we need to get a handful of 10 or 12-year-olds.
I just want them to watch a movie, Eric.
In a controlled environment with their parents can be there, and we're going to show your kids this movie.
Hey, I've got a 12-year-old.
Hey.
Just saying.
Eric, do I need to drive down to PC with my Blu-ray and we can set this up?
Actually, she watched this with us.
Wow. Really?
But we fast forwarded through the sex stuff. So we skipped the sex stuff.
Okay, this is the only movie where you could say, oh, we fast forwarded through the sex stuff. And I'm like, that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It matters to me. I don't know. Like, but
no, I mean, it totally matters. I'm just saying, like, the other things that happen in this movie seem way worse.
The sex is the least bad part of this movie.
Maybe I shouldn't admit this on the podcast, but she wanted to watch it, and we're like, all right, fine, you know. So she liked it too, or at least she said she did.
There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, like I said, I saw this fucking movie when I was like 8 or 9. So.
I was younger than that. Yeah, come on.
And even with the sex scenes in this, there's no nudity.
Yeah.
I think you may catch a glimpse of a nipple when Tawny's in the apartment, but for the most part, the sex scenes in this are pretty tame.
Any pubes? Josh, do you see any pubes?
Yeah, any pubes, Mr. Brown?
No.
Pube count?
No.
Do we have a pube count for this?
He even says that, you know, he's not a very hairy guy, so that's why he's happy that he's got the hairs on his back. So, you know, there's probably no pubes for me to see down there.
Is the back hair... Should we consider that a pube, or would he, when he starts growing the Brundlefly hair, does he get like really thick, like unshavable pubes? You think? You know, she tries to shave it, and they can't shave it. Yeah. So he's got like unshavable, like super pubes.
He's got super pubes.
Super pubes.
That's a t-shirt. VHS files. Super pubes.
Unshavable.
Oh my God.
You'd need Superman's heat vision to shave these pubes.
Oh my God.
Oh shit. Oh, let me regroup here.
Regroup.
Okay, we're good. Oh,
super pubes.
But yeah, after he gets to the window and he takes her,
Bartok.
Bartok. He picks her up, jumps on the building, but because he had heard that, you know, she was having the baby, he was on the top of the building, that she was pregnant. He gets her, but he gets back there and he's like, have the baby. It's the only part of me that's still human, you know. Will you please? Well, at least we think. We don't know, you know, that he impregnated her before or after he went through. We just don't know that for sure. Well, we kind of do in part 2. But
well, at this point, he's still trying to cling on to his humanity any way he can. So he's desperate. What I think is interesting about that scene is when she says, "I don't want it. I can't have it," and he goes, "Too bad."
that's what I was about to get at, because he says, well, if you don't want to do that, guess what? I'm going to go put you in the machine because I figured out that I can be more human by extra people.
More human than human.
So if Rob Zombie remade this, is Sherry Moon Zombie playing Ronnie or The Fly?
Okay, well, let's not. Let's fucking not.
Let's not. They walk a really great line, keeping him somewhat sympathetic for as long as they can.
Yeah.
Like you say, that those two lines right there are a great example, because you can see, like, you know, he cares for the child, his own whatever, his own legacy, his own, you know,
flesh and blood.
Yeah. Yes. And but you know, then in the next breath he's willing to take away like her choice there. And you can, for as long as you can go with still seeing like his side of things, they take it kind of one step at a time. Just when they go a little too far, they reel it back a little bit. You start to feel bad for him again, and then and I think it helps that you know, I'll say it again, Jeff Goldblum, to me at least, is such a likable guy.
Yeah.
That even as far as he descends down after he's broken people's arms, he's forced himself on this woman. He's basically like, you know, forced her to the house and, you know, weird, gross things like that. You still kind of want to root for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's funny. You kept saying going too far. And one of the little tidbits about this movie is that Jeff Goldblum sent a letter to Vincent Price, since he was in the original, and asked him what he thought about the movie, because Vincent Price watched the movie, and he says, it was wonderful right up until a certain point. Then it went too far. And that's Vincent Price telling him that.
It was like 20 minutes in. Is that what he's talking about?
I don't know. But yeah, I mean, when even Mr. been in horror, Mr. Thriller voice, everything that he even says this movie went too far. You know, he's been in all kinds of horror movies, black and white, throughout the years, but I think even David Cronenberg went a little too far for Vincent Price.
Also,
that's
one
kind
thing,
of the point, isn't it?
Yeah.
How bad do you think this fucking place smells?
Oh God, when Stathis walks in with all the rotting food and the puked on food, because that's how he eats.
Yeah, I mean, I thought about it the first time I watched it for this, and I'm like, oh, this place has got to stink so bad because of all the food and everything sitting around. But then you think about him excreting whatever it is he's excreting all across the apartment and dropping body parts, and like this place.
Yeah, flies
has to
aren't
smell
exactly clean, you know.
Yeah.
Is he pooping everywhere? Has he got fly poop? Fly poops.
That's a great question. He should be. He should be pooping everywhere. There should be piles of shit everywhere.
Hey, Cronenberg, you know, hey, we like what you've done so far, but I mean, we need some fly shit around here, okay? We don't have enough gross stuff. We need some fly shit on the floor.
You know what this movie's missing?
Fly shit.
It
Fly shit.
needs more scat.
That would have been cool when Stathis walked in. He stepped in a big pile of fly shit.
That would have been good.
Oh yeah.
And then Goldblum.
Oh, fuck.
And then Goldblum could have said,
"That is one big pile of shit."
You beat me to the punch. Oh God.
But yeah, that would have been great. But then, I mean, Stathis, he shows up with a freaking nice shotgun. I think it's like a skeet gun. I didn't take him for.
I had a note of that too. I was like, damn, that's a nice shotgun.
Yeah. Oh, skate, 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 skate.
Skate, 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 skate.
Good God. Reel it in.
We're having fun here at the VHS Files.
This is a family show.
Fuck you!
Thank you, Kevin Bacon. But dude, and then we get, oh, man, this is one of the scenes that sticks out is I guess he's in there walking around checking it all out, and you see Brundlefly jump down, and the first thing he does is puke on his hand. And just that slow meltdown of his
yeah
flesh.
And they really linger on that for a while.
Oh man, they don't just Like a lot of movies, it's like boom, it's done, it's over. Oh no, we're gonna focus in on his hand going
We're
down.
just
to
gonna
the bone.
watch it dissolve. Yeah.
And as long as they linger on that hand, I think when he does when he vomits on the guy's ankle is way worse. Like
there's something weird about it being the ankle, and it's not just the hand is melting or the foot is melting. It's like something in the middle. Like the foot's gonna be ruined. You know what I mean?
No, like it separates the fucking foot from the leg.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, like
if you see when he's puking, he's pulling the foot back.
Yeah,
like this. He's pulling it apart. You're like,
but he's right there on the verge. Like it's like, is he about to fucking vomit on this dude's face? I think he's about to vomit on this dude's face. And then you got Ronnie saving the day. No, don't. I don't know if I can handle this shit. Like, what has to be going through her head when he says, "Help me become human"? Like, what does she really think she's going to be able to do to help him? Like, is she just completely lost all train of thought at this point and doesn't know what's going on? Like, I feel like
she cares about Seth. At this point, she's probably, perhaps irrationally, thinking that she can still
checked
help
out.
him.
I just had a huge 6-foot fly drag me around the freaking town here.
He's the father of her child. Also, he talks about using a human to add more human to him, right? Using the machine to, right?
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly if he's talking to the computer or if he's talking to Stathis.
Yeah, it says one or more human subjects in order to reduce the amount of fly in his system.
Right.
To
So
be more
like
human.
when I saw this initially, I was thinking he was going to throw Stathis in there and use some of Stathis's human DNA or whatever to make himself, to slow the process, to make himself more human, whatever. And he kind of suggests that, but then that's sort of thrown away for the idea of becoming, like, merging with Ronnie and the baby and becoming like this weird
one.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
I feel like that came out of nowhere.
Well, you know, throwing Stannis in there and doing that, maybe that would have worked fine, but it's not poetic. What is poetic is him, the mother of his child, and his child becoming one. That
is it poetic? I don't know. I mean, I'm just thinking, like, the idea comes out of nowhere. It comes right at the end. I mean, is it set up previously? Not really. Like,
in the sick, twisted sense of this movie, it's poetic. Like, that's probably how he's thinking at this point.
The only part of poetic I agree with is the P, but it's more psychotic than poetic. Because at this point, like you said, he's not really having rational thought. The fly part is taking over more than the human side. But yeah, I mean, like you said, it could be poetic, but to me, it's more of a psychotic way of thinking. He's like, well, I can't do anything else. The only way I can be human is to share a body with multiple people. But this is where we get some really good stuff right here when he's trying to drag her to the pod and she pushes on his face and the whole jaw comes off.
Oh,
dude,
yeah.
From that point on, when his face splits open and that fly head starts to poke out,
it's so screwed up looking. Like, I love that they didn't just make something that looked like a fly. Like, it's like suggestive of a fly, maybe, but it's just so screwed up looking.
Josh will show us. He has the character.
There we go. Excellent. A little closer. I like his little thingies hanging down. If you watch Rick and Morty, there's like an alien race that has these two little things where their nose would be that kind of hang down, and they
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, they look very much like the fly, Brundlefly.
Well, you know, he Cronenberg the world, so
yep.
But yeah, that part where his head splits open and the eyeballs pop like gooey out, and then that's a great.
Yeah, and then he, the human side is visually gone as well. You're really it's just a creature at this point.
He does still have his wits about him in certain things. Like, he realizes when Stathis shoots the cable to the pod that this isn't going to work. I'd love when he breaks out of the pod and it takes pieces of the pod with him into the third, and then you get that crazy biomechanical fly Brundle thing
with wires hanging out of it.
Oh yeah, when it merges again, we've got Cronenberg merging tech and flesh into one thing, and it's just like this horrific. And this is where he should have been saying, "Kill me."
Yeah.
That's all I could think of when he's crawling out of there. It's like, you got to put this dude
Well,
down.
I mean, he can't vocalize it, but he is saying that because, like, you know, he grabs the barrel of that shotgun. Yeah. Like that's...
Yeah, exactly.
Even as much scarring stuff as we've seen here and how gross it is and how much bad shit he's done, I still feel so bad for him in that moment when he does that. And, you know, even Ronnie, like, she has to be the one that has to pull the trigger here after all she's been through. Like, it's just really sad. And, you know,
it's a great shot, literally a great shot of his head exploding.
Yeah, the exploding head is an excellent effect shot again.
Really great. And you got to give it up to the special effects of this movie. They won an Academy Award for this.
Yeah, Chris Wallace, interestingly enough, Chris Wallace, the guy who did the makeup effects and whatnot for this, went on to direct The Fly 2. But we talked about how this movie just kicks right into gear and gets started. I also love that this movie just ends. There's no capper. There's no epilogue. There is just, it's fucking over. It's sad. It's done. And it's just like, here you go. The world doesn't always have fucking smiles and rainbows, ladies and gentlemen.
It's not a Disney movie, folks.
It ends as abruptly as it starts.
Yep.
Yeah. You come in, you watch, you leave. It's over.
All right, let's get to it.
The good, the bad, the ugly.
And now everybody gets to see his face when he does it. Thank you, YouTube.
We've already talked about this, but my note here was, I'm going to guess Eric's good is the telepods. So Eric, give us your good, the bad, and the ugly.
Gosh, you know, maybe they should have been. It should have been the telepods, but I actually have the dissolving liquid. The vomiting liquid is my good. Is that one of yours or
no? I'm just surprised you didn't say the telepods, man.
I'll add the telepods because I agree those are iconic and great.
Okay, do you know what they use to make the dissolving liquid?
Let me think.
I do.
It wasn't pudding, was it? Was it vanilla pudding? No? I don't know.
Honey, milk, and eggs.
Yep.
Can you imagine having that? You Jeff Goldblum.
That's like basically pudding.
Well,
just the ingredients of pudding
and just spit this out.
Guy made pudding. Bad is the merging idea coming right at the end of the movie. I don't feel like it totally wraps things up. We can disagree on that maybe, but thematically about all this stuff, he wants to keep the kid, but then he wants to like merge with the kid. I don't know. I don't totally get that. I'm reaching a bit. I think everything's really tight here, but I don't totally love that. And then ugly, Brundlefly.
That's pretty ugly. Pretty ugly, I have to admit.
Yeah. That's it.
Jason?
Oh, cool. I don't have to go last. Yay. Mine good.
Josh? You want to go
No.
next?
Bartok. And my good is practical effects, the makeup. We just talked about that.
That would be one of mine.
I mean, this right here is the makeup and special effects in this is right up there with The Thing.
Yeah, I would agree.
They're pretty close. I mean, we're still way before we're doing a bunch of CGI. There was a little bit in this, but not a lot. But and Jeff Goldblum as the Fly, great. I mean, just he nailed it. He is the human fly.
Jeff Goldblum and makeup effects by Chris Wallace were my two goods. So there we go. Jason and I sharing a fucking brain again.
Yeah, Chainsaw and Dave. And my bad. There were a couple shots of the practical effects I thought it could have been better. Like the vomiting scene at the end of the movie, you definitely tell it's just a dummy and it's just plopping out of his mouth. I'm nitpicking because there isn't really that much bad in this movie.
This guy picks the special effects as good and then knocks the special effects.
No, I just said one shot.
Oh.
One shot. You can't nail every shot. That's why movies aren't perfect.
If it was a shot, Jason, it would be the director of photography's fault. You're talking about a makeup effect that you just claimed was a good thing. So get your shit together.
Shut up! Cue up Kevin Bacon. Fuck you. But Yeah, that's it. And I don't have it ugly. I don't have an ugly for this. I mean, just
okay,
good and bad.
that's okay.
I think
it's
it's a great movie. I like this movie. So.
Well, I mean, Jason just said what I thought was good about the movie. My ugly, however, would be that the stakes are wrong.
Oh, steak swap.
The steak swap. Yep.
Steak swap.
It's a movie error, I think, but the stakes are wrong, and that bothers me. So
unless it's on purpose to get like a control for his scientific thing, like he switched them to get like an unbiased opinion. Although her response doesn't add up for that, so that's not the reason.
No, he wasn't talking about that. He was the fact that they were prepared wrong, not enough seasoning, they weren't cooked correctly.
He wants to sous vide them.
Yeah, I know how to cook a good steak, goddammit, and he does not. And that's a travesty that he cooked a steak without any seasoning, without any butter, without any rosemary. Fuck that guy.
And I can tell you, Josh does cook a good steak.
He does.
He does really good. That's a grill man right there. He's got
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Now
alrighty. Well, guys, it's been fun talking about David Cronenberg's The Fly. I'm excited to talk about some more David Cronenberg. I did want to ask, when did you guys discover David Cronenberg as opposed to just like seeing The Fly and seeing Videodrome? Like, when did you finally discover who David Cronenberg was? And like, kind of like the John Carpenter thing, like you realize, oh, that's why all these movies have a similar theme, because it's the same fucking guy.
For me, it was Nightbreed.
Okay.
Because I liked the character, even though it's a Clive Barker movie.
Mm-hmm.
He was in it, and then I found out that he directed, because I mean, I'd seen The Fly so much, and then later found out he did Videodrome, and that's why I watched Videodrome.
Mm-hmm.
Is because I realized he directed The Fly. So, and I was a teenager. It was probably like junior high, maybe first year of high school.
Okay. Eric?
What about you, Eric?
What about you?
I think it started with The Fly for me, and then, you know, once I watched like Scanners and Videodrome, I was starting to see all the connections, and then kind of I started going through everything, Existence, and all these different, you know, I haven't seen all of his films, but
I haven't either.
But yeah, I think it really started with The Fly for me, and grew out from there. Yeah, once you see The Fly and Videodrome and Existence, you really are seeing that common thread, and Scanners of the tech with the flesh. That those themes are really heavy in those movies, and then you really get a lot of that body horror stuff in those, and then you know it's. So yeah, it all started with The Fly for me. So this is appropriate.
At the age of 35.
Listen, it's not easy being the youngest guy on this podcast. Okay, I'm sorry I wasn't born for some of these movies.
I think it probably was Film Junk podcast, and when we started, you know, Eric told me about them.
Yeah. No, I can totally draw lines to that as well.
And
they're big fans. And
Eric introduced me to that podcast. I started listening to it a lot back in the day, and I think it was when they started. You know, I started really listening to their analysis of movies, and they started talking a lot about directors and scores and all of that, and that sort of clued me into like, oh, there's more to a movie than just the story and all this other bullshit. So, and then I don't remember what specifically it was that clued me into Cronenberg, but I do remember vividly like finding out that he directed Videodrome, and then I was like, oh, he also did The Fly. Well, that makes sense. And then I saw Naked Lunch whenever I lived in when I lived in Virginia. And this is a funny story. This was just a common, like we had a friend there that was just a work acquaintance of Jenny's, but we were kind of decided we were going to hang out, do dinner and all that stuff one night. And he's like, well, I'll come over and watch a movie. He brought Naked Lunch over. He's like, oh, I'm going to bring this movie over so you guys can watch it. And at that point we were like, okay, whatever. We didn't know what it was. At that point, I did not know I didn't know anything about David Cronenberg. And we watched Naked Lunch, and holy shit, that movie left an impression on me in the worst way possible, because it is just out there. It is bizarre. I did not know what the fuck was going on. Now, I've grown to love it over the years, and I've watched it a few more times, but that first watch and then finding out that David Cronenberg did it, I was like, whoa, like. But the older I get, the more I get more interested in these filmmakers that make crazy fucking movies like this. I love Cronenberg. I love David Lynch. Love David Fincher. I just love Davids. If you're a David filmmaker, I probably love you.
Yeah. When you think of that, and I was just having to look it up because there was another movie. I know it's not Cronenberg, but I think of Cronenberg when I watch it. Is that movie Society?
Oh yeah, that's Brian Usna. That's the guy who produced fucking Reanimator.
Yeah, but when I saw Society, I was just like, this is so Cronenberg. But I know it's not. But
Yeah,
I kind of link him into Cronenberg like movies.
Eric, that would be a good one to like get you a little closer to your horror degree, is watching Society.
I don't like this. I don't like the way you guys talk down to me. Okay. I don't like it.
You better not be at the lockers at 3 o'clock, or I'm going to take your lunch money.
This is ridiculous.
All right, everybody, that's going to do it for our conversation tonight. We hope you enjoyed our conversation about David Cronenberg's The Fly. If you like what you heard, please give us a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. Hit the like button, subscribe for our YouTube videos. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok at VHS Files Podcast. Drop us an email at vhsfilespodcast@gmail.com. Until next time, be kind.
Rewind.
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 You've been listening to the VHS Files Podcast.
Watch a few movies, take a few notes.
If you like what you heard, please subscribe and drop us a rating and a review wherever you get your podcast.
It was fun.
Send your questions, comments, and movie suggestions to vhsfilespodcast@gmail.com.
You sick fucks. You've seen one too many movies.
Don't you blame the movies!
Follow us on all social media outlets at VHS Files Podcast.
Movies don't create psychos!
Check out our YouTube channel for more content.
Movies make psychos more creative!
Thanks for listening.
I'm stupid. I need like powder. Makeup.
That's exactly what I said. I said, I'm too shiny.
Yeah. Makeup. I'm shiny.
I need makeup. Makeup.
Shine check. Shine check.
I need to accent my cheekbones.
I need to dab my eyes.
No, I'm not.
I see why people wear makeup. I look like the anchors in Batman 89, like when they don't have their
Do not
makeup.
use the following products. Aftershave with deodorant.
I need to, for real, get some makeup up in here.
It's a new product. It's called Smiley.
Love that Joker. Put some powder on your face.